Kamaru Usman live here on the Crystal Beauty Show. If you got any questions, go ahead and throw them out. I would try to answer them as quick as possible. I'll try to answer as quick as possible. I just left training. I'm training for my upcoming fight, January 14th in St. Louis, Missouri, versus Emil Meek, the Norwegian guy. How did I get the name the Nigerian Nightmare? The Nigerian Nightmare for me was just a name that symbolizes a long history of Nigerian athletes, supreme Nigerian athletes at the top of their game, the top of their sport, all over the world. And there's been some famous Nigerian Nightmares that I really identify with, like Christian Okoye, who was one of the first Nigerians to play American football and be dominant in the sport. Also, Samuel Peters, heavyweight champion of the world at one point. And so, I'm just the next phase in combat sports. I'm just the next Nigerian Nightmare at the height of it. So, that's why I chose to go with that name. There's plenty of other names that people wanted to give me, but that's the one that I felt really stuck. I hope everyone is having good holidays. Hope everyone's with loved ones, everyone's with family, everyone's having a good time. Me, unfortunately, I'm stuck here training, as always. Got to take care of business first. So once I go out and win this next fight, I'll have a good holidays after January 14th. Were my parents supportive? That depends on the beginning of the journey. Like, of course, I have African parents. They're not, if you have African parents, you need to do one or two things. You need to go to school, be a doctor, or go to school and be an engineer. Those are the avenues that African parents want you, and they don't really care about the sports and things like that, because that's not really a secure way. That's not really a way to try to secure your future. But there are some special guys that are gifted, that can excel in athletics at the highest level. And so, but initially, no, they wanted me to do what all African parents want you to do: go to school, become an engineer, or become a doctor. So unfortunately, I went to school. Of course, I went to college, but I just this was, athletics was something that I excelled in, and it was something that definitely, pulled me the other direction, to where I felt that I was blessed enough to be able to do it at the highest level. But now they're very supportive, of course. Questions, but let me elaborate a little more with what I said. When African parents, they want you to, and not just African parents. Let me backpedal. Not just African parents, immigrant parents, more so Africans, Asians, and Indians. The parents, they want you to, when you come here, their goal for bringing you here and bringing their family here is to have a better life, a more secure life, to where you never have to work, or you never have to struggle for anything. And so that's why they want you in the fields that are the fields that are that always have a necessity for people. They always need doctors. You're never gonna get to a point where you don't need doctors. You always need doctors and nurses. And so, which is why African parents always, and Indian parents always want you to, and Asians as well, always want you to go into the medical field or engineering field, because those are jobs that are always going to be available, as opposed to desk jobs in different offices here and there. Those, you can lose those jobs, but engineering and doctors, those are very hard for you to lose. Do you like to stand with your opponents or take them down to the ground? I like to do everything. As the nickname says, I'm a nightmare, Nigerian nightmare. So it doesn't matter where the fight is. I'm a nightmare to my opponent. But I'm almost everyone, if not everyone, that I will face, I will have better wrestling and better ground game than them. So it's, if I want, I will take it to the ground. If not, I'll keep it standing and, knock them out at some point. What do you think of the other African fighters like Francis Ngannou? He's from Cameroon. Yeah, those are my guys. Francis Ngannou. We came into actually, I got into UFC through the show, The Ultimate Fighter. So I ended up winning that show. And my first fight in the UFC after the show is Francis Ngannou's first fight in the UFC as well. The exact same card, which was, meant to be fate. The exact same card in Orlando, and we both won that night. We had great performances that night, and the rest has been history. We also have other African fighters coming up. Ganinia, another one of my friends, Razak Alsin, he's Alsan, he's coming up as well. He's another tough welterweight. And we have a couple of guys. We have a guy from the Congo, but he from the UK, is raised in the UK. Mark Jukasi, that's another talented African fighter. And we also have Walter Gahadza. He's not yet in the UFC, but he's also a very talented fighter. What does it mean for you to be a fighter? What does it mean for me? Initially, it was just another means for me to continue to compete at the highest level. The reason I do this, first and foremost, is for competition. I don't do this because I can't do anything else. Some guys, this is all they have. They have to do this or they can't do anything else. I'm educated. I'm a college-educated man. I can go get a job anywhere. But I wanted to compete at the highest level. I still have that drive in me, and which is why I do this. But over the years of doing this, you don't choose, and this is something that I live by, you don't choose whether you're a role model or not. It just kind of finds you. When you're blessed with power like that, it's a responsibility to be a role model. So now it's to the point where I'm not just fighting for myself. I'm a role model for a lot of different people, a lot of Africans that are in different situations that don't think they're ever going to get out, don't think they're ever going to change their stars, don't think they're ever going to amount to anything in life. You never know what God's plan is for you, because I was once in their shoes. What is your education in? My education is in so many things. I went into college as pre-professional biology major because I wanted to go to med school. And then after 2 years of that, I decided I didn't want to go to med school anymore. So I switched my major to nursing. And then I finished all the prereqs for nursing, and then I was told that I couldn't do nursing and be a collegiate wrestler at the same time because of the hours. So I wasn't going to quit wrestling because that was my scholarship, what was paying for my education. So I switched majors to family studies. I did a year of that, and then I transferred schools to University of Colorado in Colorado Springs while I was training for the Olympics, which I ended up with a sociology degree. Sociology major, yes. At this point, what advice would you give to other African men? Give to other African men out there who also want to be like you. Man, it's you have to. The biggest issue with doing things in life is beginning. A lot of people are faced with a lot of adversities, a lot of things in life, and the hardest thing is to begin. You don't know when, how I can change things, how I can change my stars, how I can get out of the situation that I'm in. And so the biggest thing is to start. If you want, like, guys want to fight, find a good gym, find a gym, and just start somewhere. Start with your wrestling, start with your boxing, and slowly, this didn't happen overnight. I didn't get to this point overnight. I've been fighting now professionally for 5 years. And so, yes, it took some time. It's going to take time to build and develop the skills, but at the end of the day, anything worthwhile is not going to be overnight. You got to work at it. What separates me from other fighters? Whew. A lot of things. Mentally, I believe I'm so much different. I think about things differently. The way I approach it is different. This is not, like, as I mentioned, this is not because I can't do anything else. This is because I want to compete. I have this burning desire inside me where I know how I've trained, what I've put in, that I know that I can't be beat. The only way for me to be beat is if I beat myself, if I quit on myself. And that's not happening anytime soon. So with the training, I know I put in the amount of time and the amount of effort. The rest is history. I just have to go out and perform. That's my mentality. I would say my mind is the biggest thing that separates me from everybody else. Do you love it, and why? Do I love it? Yeah, I love it because it's allowing me to continue to compete, as I've mentioned. It's still giving me that avenue to fulfill that dream. And now it's to the point where I don't only just I didn't want to just do this now. I want to be the best at this. And so that's the goal, is to eventually be the champion and move forward with it, retire as a champion, and move on to a different avenue. If you could have one dream fight with anyone, who would it be? With anyone? I mean, the biggest fighter right now, big in combat sports, is Floyd Mayweather, of course. So, yeah, if I could have a dream fight, I'd take that fight. I'd go ahead and collect a couple $100 million and put it in the bank. So, yeah, of course I would do that. Dream fight, all times, I would have to say one of the greatest fighters, maybe Ali, someone like that, if I was in his sport. Who was the toughest fighter you have encountered? Whew. Toughest fighters I've encountered. I would have to say Leon Edwards. I'd probably say is probably the toughest guy I fought. He's Jamaican, actually, but living in the UK, raised in the UK. He's a tough guy. Very tough, very skilled. So I would say that's been my toughest fight so far. What do you want to be remembered for at the end of your career? I mean, this life is so short, and this sport it's growing so fast. You know, it's gonna change, and I just want to be remembered as probably one of the most dominant guys in the sport during their time in the sport. So probably that. Biggest strength, and what do you need to work on? My biggest strength, as I've mentioned, obviously, is my wrestling. And what do I need to work on? Of course, I want to continue to improve on everything, but so I want to improve on everything. My wrestling, again, my kickboxing, my boxing, all of the above, my jiu-jitsu, I need to improve on everything because I don't want to be stale. I always want to evolve. And so, yeah, I want to work on everything, but wrestling obviously is my biggest strength. I have the ability to control where the fight takes place. Would you advise young Africans to become fighters? It depends. Depends. Yeah, I see why. I don't see why not. But at the same time, you have to have a fallback plan because this is a very unforgiving sport. Not everyone is going to be successful at it, but if you stick with it and you really put in the time and the effort, you get out what you put in. But at the same time, it's a very unforgiving sport. You're putting your body through hell. So some people could be injured. Some people, have different random things happen. So always have a fallback plan. I'm currently in a relationship. How do you handle women throwing themselves at me? Yes. Yeah. It's handling that is. I mean, it's like anything else. That it's not. It's like anything else. You just kind of have to learn how to handle and deal with different relationships, and not every relationship is good for you. And not every relationship is bad for you. It's not necessary. It doesn't necessarily have to be a relationship as far like there's many types of relationship. Like there's many different people that I'm gonna meet. I've met tons of women that were just good friends that I was friends with, and so there's relationships come and go. There's a ton of different ones, but my biggest relationship right now is my daughter. She's 3 years old, and she's my biggest relationship right now. Excuse me. Describe yourself in one word. One word, I would say calculated. Calculated. I like to weigh my risks and rewards. Let's do Nigerian women. Tell me who you will marry. Sex with, kick to the curb. Okay. Out of those three, I only know one of them. I know one of them, and I do like her. Let's see. Tiwa Savage, I do know who that is. I like Tiwa. Unfortunately, I haven't had the pleasure to have a personal conversation with her, so I don't know how she is as a person. So to me, to think about a person that I would marry, I have to have a conversation with. I don't just marry for looks. But Uh, Amatola. Amatala, yeah, she is beautiful. Very beautiful. Yeah, she's very beautiful. I think, let me see, I will answer this question. And Sydney, who is that? Let's see who that is. Okay, I would say marry Amatola. I'll marry her. Smash Set T.Y. Savage. Curb Sydney. Yeah, that's the answers. How old is your daughter? Does she love what her dad does? My daughter's 3.5, and yes, she's been going to the gym with me every day since she was 6 months old. She understands what I do. She loves watching me on TV, but when the fight starts, she turns her face. She can't watch that, but she loves seeing me on TV. There's a weird thing you do that no one knows about. Weird thing that I do. I don't really do anything weird. I'm pretty, like I said, I'm pretty calculated. I would say people probably won't expect me to be as calculated as I am or as clean as I am. I'm pretty clean as far as cleaning up, whether it's cleaning up the house or just cleanliness is big for me, or my personal hygiene. That's huge for me. So I would say that. Do you ever get scared or nervous before a fight? Of course. You have to be. Like, I'm willingly putting myself in harm's way for the world's entertainment. Of course I'm nervous. Of course I'm scared. I've dreamt of this guy beating me in the worst possible way all the time. But it's the guys that can control that mind and channel it in a different way that are the most successful. Who's your favorite Cameroonian comedian? I don't really know. To be honest, I have to really look. Like, for me, African comedians are just African comedians. Like, they all make me laugh. So I haven't really been focused on where the regional, locations where some of them are. Like E-Baby Kobe, he's a big one. I didn't really even know that he was Ghanaian. But yeah, he's from Ghana. Of course, Foxy P, big comedians. Chief OB, one of the hottest Nigerian comedians as well. These are, Akam the Boy. Like, there's just, Wawa Boys. There's a lot of African Ape. Of course, you can't forget about him. Dulo, I am Dulo. There's a lot of comedians now that I've started following more and more. What's the other one from, I want to say, Cheap Okizi. That's another big one. So, yeah, I really don't know the region. I just know the African comedians. I love them all. They make me laugh. Why UFC? Because after transitioning from wrestling to the combat sports, I wanted to do something that I didn't completely just throw away the skills that I spent almost a decade learning and perfecting. So that's why UFC was the next transition for me. If I had your iPod or music player, what song would I see as your most listened to song? Man, I don't know. Like, I have a wide variety I have a very eclectic taste in music. Wide range. You see slow songs, you see thinking songs, you see just a lot of different songs. I love elevator music, like smooth jazz. I love smooth jazz, not necessarily with words, just smooth jazz. I also love some EDM. Of course, I love my Afrobeat, my African Afrobeat songs. I love it. And then, of course, use hard rap, gangster rap, old school hip hop. I love it all. It just depends on, which day you catch me. It was a pleasure. What is your faith? I was born Muslim, but now I'm a Christian. I've been a Christian since I was like 12, but born and raised in Nigeria till about 8 years old, and I was raised Muslim, learned the faith well, but I love God. I'm a believer in God, and so I'm a non-denominational Christian now. I'm a believer in God and all that He does in my life and how He has control of my life. So, yeah, that's it. What's your favorite strike, submission to use in a fight? Favorite strike, when landed properly, would be the elbow, because it does the most damage. You can just slice through someone's face with the elbow. It does really, really bad damage. Who was your biggest inspiration in fighting? Would have to be Sugar Rashad Evans. He's probably one of the guys that got me to where I am today, and the reason why I am where I am today. All right, everybody. I just finished training. I need to go eat, and I need to go take a nap and relax the rest of the day. As I mentioned, my fight is less than 3 weeks away. January 14th, live in